Thank you very much, Your Excellency, distinguished colleagues. My name is Asuko Epeyong, Senator representing Cross River South. Mr. Taiwo Oyedele, a lot has been said about your capacity, competence, and commitment in service to Nigeria over the last 3 years. I endorse that without any reservation. My question is this, though. Nigeria today has a revenue problem, as you have stated yourself. Now, the nomination has designated you as Minister of State for Finance. Under the Ministry of Finance, there's an arm, the Ministry of Finance Incorporated. This arm is saddled with the mandate of managing the portfolio of assets and investments of the federal government. Murphy.
Ministry of Finance
Incorporated. Murphy. This arm is mandated to manage the portfolio of federal government assets and investments, which is estimated to be in the tune of 40 trillion naira, or about $27 billion. How do you propose to reposition this portfolio, this Ministry of Finance Incorporated, to leverage it, to increase the income and the revenue of this federal government? Thank you very much.
Thank you. The man speaking.
Under your leadership, we were intimidated by previous nominees, and they are now being replaced for this new one to come in. I think that the purpose of screening is for us to know the policy choices, not to show that debate. Once the principal officers have spoken, I do not think that's the way it should be. I want to know the way the mind is working. We are dealing with a budget that performs on recurrent, it doesn't perform on capital. I need to know what it is.
Senator Oshimole, in view of the fact that I recognize you when you raise your hand, thinking that you are going to second the motion, and the motion has not been seconded, so far the motion of Senator Igbisagba that he be allowed to take a bow and go is hereby killed. Yes, who wants to ask question? Who wants to ask question? Let them talk. Please, let me explain. Let me explain. Please sit down. Please sit down. Even Senator Wadada has a question. There's nobody that doesn't have a question. But please just use 1 minute or 30 seconds and ask question. Let him write it down. Even if he does not answer all, let's just give everybody an opportunity to say something. Senator Buhari.
You have a comment, sir. Thank you.
No, it was to second the motion. We'll come back to you.
Okay.
Buhari Abdul Fattah Yanot. Mr. President, I join my other colleagues to thank.
After you, Senator Issa Jibrin. After Senator Issa Jibrin, Senator Olarode. After that, Senator Suwe Gbeyon. After that, Senator Yaradua. After that, Senator Oshimole. From Senator Oshimole to Senator Ashiru. And from Senator Ashiru to Senator Igbia. From there, in 30 seconds, that means in 5 minutes, we can finish this.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Taiwo, my question is this. You are one of the strong actors of the...
Senator Buhari?
Sir.
Sorry, since you are not on your seat, you have lost the chance.
What do you mean? Mr. President, like I said, the question is just directly to Mr. Taiwo.
30 seconds.
Thank you very much. It's about the value-added tax. The value-added tax, as good as it is, we need some certain explanation for you to help us, because you said it right now that we want to move from the public sector to the private sector. And if you look at the tax very well, you said when they pay the tax on behalf of the government, they can only retrieve back their money at the end of the year. If they are retrieving back their money at the end of the year, imagine them borrowing from the bank to go and pay. How will they survive? That's just my question. Particularly if you look at it now, at the airline industry, the British Airways and all the foreign airlines are not paying tax, but the domestic airline are paying that value added tax and passing it to consumers. In other words, that's one of the reasons why the price is skyrocketing. When you go back to your position after the president has decided to take you there, please look into it so that we can force the price to come down. Thank you, Mr. President.
Please, did you write that down? Nigerians are very interested in what will be the outcome of that question. Senator Issa Jibril.
Thank you very much. Ayodele Taiwo. My name is, my son. He's just a little older than my first son.
Okay, but use your campaign voice so you can hear.
Okay. You will take it. Okay. It's good you are here now. This is almost an emergency period, not classroom teaching here and there. We are back now. What we need now is the practical solution to Nigerian economic issues. Number one, here in the 9th Senate, when leader was here, Senator Prof.Mgbeke stood up here. We are talking of illegal mineral mining. Before I come to, it leads to smuggling of illegal mineral to Iran and Iraq, to China. He stood up here. He informed us that Zamfara state government brought a molded gold of 150 billion to Mr. President to be given to Emefiele so that they can deposit it into the account of Zamfara government, not to the central post. He now asked whether we agree that they can go back to the creek and be stealing their oil. Some of us said, well, since they are doing it in Zamfara, you can go on. So this thing went back to 600 barrels per day. Before the federal government took a decision to stamp out this thing, to raise it to 1.3 million barrels. Now, the military operation is on water. We have stabilized smuggling on that place. What is going on in Zamfara before Nasarawa took over of establishing mining industries is appalling. Zamfara is the richest state in Nigeria. Gold, uranium, silver, lead. Today, there is no single dollar sent into the account of federal government. And we are borrowing money all over the whole world from those people that stole our destiny there. What can you do as Mr. Minister to stop this carnage so that we stop borrowing money all over the world? Number two, when late Buhari was around, it was misadvised that they should close borders. Close borders to Nigerians in about 7 states bordering Niger. We advise that it will be counterproductive because of rice production. Today, foreign rice has not allowed Nigerian rice to survive. Then, Tokumbo cars are all over. You will take a trip, you will see what is happening. Is it not possible for you to write a memo to Mr. President that says we could not even produce a card that is going to be cheaper for the common man to ride? Can't we take duty, collect revenue on these smuggled cars and smuggled rice so that we can have these trillions of naira that is in the pockets of individual into at least half of it into the federal government cover so that we stop borrowing money? You are the chairman. Thank you very much.
See what I wanted to ask?
With the visions and how Mr. President was able to locate Taiwo to handle some of those reforms. But I have just few things to say. Number one is the fact that our colleagues here, Honorable Minister Designate, have talked much about budget financing. They talk about projects. The reason for that is that they are concerned about cost overrun if payment is not made. That will lead to schedule delay. And as the Senate President said, benefit shortfall. So if you had to construct a road last year, you don't construct it You move to next year, you have cost overrun. Automatically, that depletes your budget. You have to, like the president suggested, you have to bring innovative ideas about how to arrest cost overrun, benefit delays, schedule delays, and benefit shortfall on government projects. And every senator here have one project or the other in their constituency. If they are not realized, there is what we call massive benefit shortfall. Your job is actually to talk much about economic sustainability. And the last thing I will say is that all the effort put together by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu can only be appreciated if you, as Minister of State for Finance, will propagate the idea of Federal Data Bank. We don't have data. Everybody talking here, they're all first class. Look at the kind of narrative they bring to bear in economic development. Massive. So, where is the data? We have to be empirical, scientific. We don't have data. Maybe the only thing I want to say is that it's unfortunate that the Common Senate President probably didn't have time to create data bank in Akwa Ibom in those days. Because we struggle now to find out some of those achievements and quantify them in data. At federal level, let me say clearly, my younger brother from Ondo State, you put your name in indelible ink and you will forever be remembered in the legacy of the Hope Agenda if you can champion the cost of data. Forget about all these revenue, cost, adjustments, strategy sustainable, innovation, destruction. These are semantics. Where is data? I will be leaving very soon. I don't have my project in a database. All the projects approved for me by the Senate President, I can't go back now on my day of exit to clean the computer and bring out the data. Asuwaju almost spent his life at presidency in Nigeria on national cause. Will he leave after 8 years without being able to print out scientific data? So I would suggest maybe you need international partnership in this regard, and we are available to help you to ensure that IFC buy into the idea of data. Mr. Senate President, IMF will come here, they come with some survey, data set, 10, 20. They go to the airport, administer them, they go around like that, and they come with bundles of econometrics, scientific projection, and drawing graph. These are pseudo data. We need data. Statistics office is not working. And let me say finally that I will join the Senate President and the leadership of the Senate to commend that much collaboration. And you have said so, that both for the Senate making fantastic laws, the economy would have suffered a setback. President Buhari printed 30 trillion on ways and means. It is not easy to fill those holes in one day. When the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu took over, revenue to cash ratio was 1%. A manager is coming to manage an asset in which only 1% is in cash. How will he manage it? But today, like SP said, he has stabilized the economy. So there is need for us to move forward. Revenue to servicing debt ratio, 96%. If we make 100 naira, 96 naira is used to pay bad debt. Today is 68%. Revenue to debt ratio itself was 34%. Today is close to that. So I want to join my colleagues and also see their feelings, like Senate President have freely said, echo their feelings. The project must be financed, and you must bring in innovative strategy that will help Mr. President to retreat history and bring out of this little left, because we are coming from financial dangerous lane and we have left that. Thank you very much, and I must say good afternoon, Mr. Senate President.
Thank you. Senator Wadada.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. My name is Senator Victor Ume, OFR. I represent Anambra Central Senatorial District. Mr. Taiwo Oyedele, I want to congratulate you for appearing before us as the Minister of Finance, Minister of State for Finance designate. I encountered you in a number of public fora debates on tax reform bill. And you recall my contributions during those debates. I'm very pleased with your nomination because you are a square peg in a square hole. I welcome that with relief. My question is on the ease of doing business with government of Nigeria. Ease of doing business. You know that for things to go well and for the government to enjoy favorable rating, the ease of doing business is a very important factor. Any person who does business with government should be able to get paid. Should be able to get paid. He's 50 years, Mr. President. 50 years old. Very strong man. Okay. So my concern is on the ease of doing business with government of Nigeria. My colleagues have spoken, particularly the Chief Whip of the Senate, on the issue of budget implementation. But the particular concern I have is when somebody does business with government, as the Minister of State for Finance, how will we bring confidence to bear in that transaction that somebody who has performed will get his money on time as soon as he discharges his responsibility in the contract? So as Minister of State for Finance, how are you going to guide this process so that that confidence level will be built again? That if you do your business with government, government will pay you as soon as you discharge your own part of the agreement or the contract. Thank you very much, Mr. President. I'm very happy, Mr. President, that you finally recognized me today.
Finally?
Yes, I've been raising my hand, so I'm happy, very happy with you in the
My eye did not catch you. Thank you.
And you got me at the right time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So that the Southeast will not be marginal.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Mohamed Tahir Monguno. I represent Borno North Senatorial District. Well, I also joined the Deputy Senate President in adopting all the encomiums that was attributed to you by him and adopt same as mine. Well, my own is the Nigerian economy is largely public sector driven. It is only when the government spends that it will generate multiplier effect in the economy, thereby bringing food on the table of Nigerians, create employment and what have you. But we have started witnessing a very sad trajectory in our budgetary implementation. And I'm posing this question to you based on your background and peradventure if Mr. President in his own wisdom decide to take you to Ministry of Finance.
That's where it's going.
That is where it's going. It's already mentioned. Okay, so that question is apt and germane to you. My question is, we have started witnessing a very ugly scenario of non-implementation of budget. And the economy is public sector driven. For example, in 2025, we have zero allocation with regard to capital projects. Yes, with regard to implementation. Zero allocation.
Zero implementation.
Zero release.
Zero release. Zero release of capital component of the budget. So, what steps are you going to do to nip in the bud this ugly scenario of non-implementation of the capital component of the budget that has negatively impacted on the economy, and we are now witnessing avalanche of forces by contractors across the nooks and crannies of the country? Thank you.
To ask first. Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, I want to commend Mr. President Tinubu, and also commend the Senate for the time we led the nominee to expand our tax net. My questions are very simple to you. You can see, I also want to commend the Minister of Finance we are going to be working with. He's one of the ministers. When you invite him to this Senate, he will be there 10 minutes to time to wait for you to come. I hope you will abide by that. My questions are simple. Inflation has gone from 24% to 15%. Food inflation has gone from 21% to 8%. And the capacity utilization of industries are stagnant. Manufacturers are not selling goods in the warehouse. And the ministry, we see either Ministry of Agriculture or Finance importing wheat or something to make rice, paddy for rice. We are not encouraging our farmers to go back to farm, and we cannot do. Senator Blai was talking here. What President Tinubu have done a lot to grow this economy. What we are lacking now is growth. People must come out and fight. You people who are technocrats, everything is not about president. People who are working with the president should stand up and work with him and show how the economy can get headway to growth. How are you going to do this that manufacturers will regain confidence of manufacturing of their goods to the Nigerian market? What are you going to do for manufacturers who are today not exporting? They are not even servicing the local market because of capacity utilization is down and imports are down. Raw materials are not coming from the bush. I might know you say, no, that is security. How are you going to work to coordinate with the coordinating Minister of Economy to make sure that we come on track? We cannot be speaking all this grammar without actual growth on the economy. We'll be wasting our time. President has stabilized foreign exchange. President has stabilized fuel, although you can see what Iran is doing. We must also see a way we can build a valve in that if Iran or US is sneezing, Nigeria will not be sneezing. We'll be laughing if need be. But laughing on people dying is not possible. But we'll laugh on our economy. What are you going to do to help President Tinubu to continue building and putting growth on the economy? This is my question to you.
Thank you.
I am very happy you are appointed, and I'm happy you are a very good candidate. Nobody can doubt that. I've known you for a long time, and you will do very well to support the main minister there. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah.
Mr. President, may God continue to bless you for your common leadership. I need not add anything with regards to his suitability, but I want my colleagues to bear in mind that those who have been removed, this Senate cleared them. So the issue is policy choices. Happily, from what he has done with the tax reform, I saw a progressive taxation that removed the burden of taxes from the poor and tried to keep it to where it should be. That gives me an idea that you belong to the progressive tradition of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. However, what I have seen in the course of our oversight, as encouraged by the Senate President, and also bearing in mind my own very limited experience as a former head of a subnational government, when your revenue expectation, because they are not, whatever you say, it is expected revenue. It will require miracle for your expectation to be 100%. And it's on the basis of your expected revenue that you formulate your expected expenditure. And like you have said, there might have been some element of exaggeration or too ambitious in terms of our expectation on the revenue side, which may well explain why the capital side didn't perform. But, Mr. President, I will call you as a witness. When we suffer shocks, when we were government, the current governors are very lucky. When we suffer shocks arising from all kinds of explanation, what we do, or what I did, is to relook at my recorded expenditure and remove any element of waste and then apply for environment to the House of Assembly to transfer resources appropriated for recurrent expenditure so that I can carry out the capital projects which involve infrastructure. For example, I understand wages are non-negotiable. I understand why we must service our foreign debts. All of this come under recurrent. But I do not understand why our ministers do not follow the instruction of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu with regards to how they travel and the size of their delegation. I will expect that once the revenue is falling short of expectation, a minister not being a minister of foreign affairs, who is supposed to travel 10 times in a year, that can be reduced to 2. Instead of carrying 20 people in the delegation, that can be reduced to himself and 1 or 2 technical assistants. Our foreign embassies should be used because you have trade desk in those ministries. You have all sorts of desks in those foreign ministries to do the job that our ministers are always traveling. The best evidence, sir, given where you are coming from in the system, how many foreign ministers come to Nigeria compared to the number of Nigerian ministers that go abroad? So this wasteful aspect of our recurrent expenditure, which I have seen, committee after committee, you can run the federal government recurrent expenditure net of salary and debt obligation with 50%. So if you transfer that 50% through environment, you will have been able to fund some element of the capital side. The target now is that whereas the recurrent perform 100%, the capital side, which is for infrastructure, is the one that perform 0. This is not how public finances is done. If you do it that way, you will find that even the workers you are paying them to render a service. When that service is not rendered because there's no capital provision, you are just paying people for doing nothing. So under your leadership, and considering the effort you invested in tax reform and prayerfully in tax collection, you must also ensure that the use of that money, when our president says, I am trying to fetch a bucket of water from a dry hole, when he fetch it, it shouldn't be used for a minister to go and live in Washington, to go and live in London. Everything our ministers must attend. How many foreign ministers come to Nigeria? How many foreign ministers of trade come to Nigeria? How many ministers of, you name it. So I want to plead with you that we should have a sensitive balance, because in the affairs of nations, no nation have enough to meet all the needs. That is why the business of government is about prioritization. May you prioritize our expenditure pattern in such a way that never again shall it be the case that because we didn't have enough money, we are able to fund recurrent, but our capital perform 0.
Thank you.
You have the wisdom, you have the intellect, and I'm sure you command the respect and the trust of Mr. President for him to have moved you to this level, for which I am very happy for you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. You come here as a witness.
Believes that in Akwa Ibom, when they tell us that we have lost 600 barrels of crude, and therefore allocation has dropped. You see all your capital projects.
We had zero allocation, zero revenue from oil for over a year. We didn't have $1 coming into the consolidated revenue of the Federation because of policies. And so that made us to share 300 and something, 400 and something as governors. Today, governors are sharing 1.9 trillion, 2.something trillion, and all that. That's why I said, what a wonderful time to be a governor. Yes, we had to find all sorts of means to survive and still deliver the dividends of democracy to the populace. So, Honourable Minister designate.
Why you don't raise a motion to stop a debate?
Then you kill it, sir.
What do you mean? There is something like that? Something that is contained here?
Even if there's a phone, you kill
it. Until we recognize
the prestige of the Senate.
Yes, sir.
But not.
Order, Master.
Jimo, this is not UN procedures.
to report progress. Sitting as committee, Mr. Somebody is playing with it. Come on. I will use my campaign voice because I have one. My privilege as a sitting senator representing the most closest senatorial district to the FCT, my privilege as the chairman Senate Committee on Public Accounts will be infringed upon if I am not allowed to speak now on this matter.
Thank you. Your point of order is overruled. Yes, because you only speak when the eye of the presiding officer catches you, not because you are chairman of a committee. And you said it's a privilege. It is not a right. No, it's not a right. You are only talking about privilege. But if you have anything you want to say, jot it down. People are all writing down questions and giving to him. So, Oshomole, did you second the motion?
No, sir. I thought, sir, with profound respect.
First, I want to commend the nominee. It's somebody I've known for a very long time. We share a lot in terms of background. So what I'm going to say here is purely advisory. Whether we like it or not, funding will always be a problem. Okay? For any economy that thinks right. Okay? You cannot limit your expenditures to your income. If you do that, you cannot grow. So, and that is why there's always provision for debt financing. I want to commend the federal government for what happened recently in terms of refinancing arrangements. That I think by now those refinancing arrangements must have been concluded, and that means that we are going to refinance some of our existing loans with less expensive and longer tenured loans, which is very commendable. But having said that, I want us to dwell a bit on the issue of public-private partnership arrangements. I want us to create enabling environments through tax incentives for various establishments, various companies, various private individuals, private enterprises to partner with the government. There must be a way to encourage these people, especially foreign investors. As you know, foreign investors don't only look at Nigeria, they are looking at the conducive environments all over the world. If your terms are not conducive enough, they will not come here. We must be able to come up with package, that will attract these foreign investors to come down to Nigeria and partner with. Then secondly, the issue of import substitution strategy or enforcement of import substitution policy. There has been import substitution strategy all along, but it looks like it is not enforced. Today you see fabrics all over the place, imported from all over the place. And we go to Kaduna, the Texas companies that were flourishing before that, employ so many people, go to Kaduna, Kano, they are all dead. So we must be able to enforce our import substitution strategy to protect local investors. Thank you very much.
Director in a bank, he has worked for years. So when he's asking you, he's asking for a point of knowledge. But he's a chartered accountant also, he's a fellow. So yours is to also listen to them, take something back, so that you can go and work. I hope you understand. Senator Asuko Epeyon.
My question is quite directly related to that of the Chief Whip. And I think I also share the position on the competence and the professional propriety, adopting the nominee. But my question is an extension of what the Chief Whip has said. Recently, and I think over the past 2 to 3 years, Mr. President has succeeded in stabilizing the economy, bringing down inflation down. So a lot of the monetary side of the economy is in order, or getting in order. But I just want to ask you, if you eventually sit in that office, what are you going to do about the fiscal side, not the tax side? The tax side, I think that one has been answered with the tax reform bills, which have now become law. And I want to congratulate you for having been a leader in that very supreme effort of Mr. President. But then, you have to pursue growth. What we have, you are pursuing a fight against inflation, a fight for fiscal stability, for monetary stability, but you are not pursuing growth. And like the Chief Whip said, that's where the issue is, because the Nigerian economy depends a lot in public spending. If you curtail public spending, what you are actually doing is that you will go to stagnation. And once the economy stagnates, the inflationary pressures that you are fighting are going to rear their ugly heads and consume us all. So we want to know, when you become a minister in the Ministry of Finance, what fiscal policy initiatives, apart from the taxation which you have already done, in area of government spending, and particularly implementation of the budget, where are you going to come and make sure that these issues are tackled in order for the economy not to go into stagnation? One of the major issues that I think very few of us have ever confronted was the specter of having contractors that are not owing too much, coming to demonstrate in front of the National Assembly, preventing the National Assembly from doing his work, and blocking the Ministry of Finance for a pittance of the work that they have not been paid. This is an aberration on the image of this country, which I hope when you get into the Ministry of Finance, you should be able to correct. But policy initiatives have to be raised in such a way that growth is restored to the Nigerian economy. Thank you.
It's very rare for the public to have confidence. Nigeria used to produce oxygen in country or assemble the parts in country. We used to have Santana, a car assembled in country. Pojo Nigeria Limited was assembled here. Many countries are not using all these foreign vehicles. They are using locally produced vehicles. Cuba and others, saving foreign exchange. What policy would you bring as a minister in charge of a very critical area of finance, so that Nigeria can begin to at least assemble cars before we think of producing cars? So we can use made in Nigeria cars. At the time, even the heads of states and governments were using Pojo vehicles manufactured in Kaduna, I think. Then we're using Santana Volkswagen manufactured in Lagos and assembled and Leyland trucks and all that. So for us, that's why I said we need you back so that we can sit down together and give you ideas, and you see where you go and implement them. Is there anybody from Ondo who wants to?
Yes, Olivia.
I know, but Ben, before then, before he goes, let me hear from let somebody from his state attest to his character.
My very, very distinguished colleagues, my name is Senator Jide Ikishagba. I represent Ondo North Senatorial District, where Professor Oyedele came from. And to be precise, it's even from my federal constituency. I have to thank the entire House, the Sarah Senate, for giving this opportunity. And besides, we have gone through his CV, very, very intimidating, very immaculate, top-notch. And I don't think an uncommon CV. Mr. President, I will not want us to waste much of our time here, because some people will be going for prayer and breaking of fasting. So I will recommend that we should allow our we should allow
our pride,
the pride of ministerial nominee to take about, or probably when he answered those questions from his attitude, because the taste of pudding is in the eating. This pudding has been eaten while he was organizing a tax reform program, and the entire country has benefited from it. Please, Mr. President and fellow district colleagues, we should allow him to go. Thank you very much.
Is that a motion? Well, it looks like it came up as a
priorities will be one, to work with the team. The Minister for Solid Minerals has been doing a lot, but we need to then complement that with the policy certainty environment, and we may be coming to the National Assembly in this regard. Once we can fix the policy, I think the other issues are secondary, which many of the investors locally and globally are familiar with in terms of how they manage them. So the second question is from the distinguished Senator Mgbeke from Borno. Very important point around the fact that our economy is largely public sector driven. Even though our journey is to move towards a private sector-led economy, but it won't happen overnight. And therefore, it's important that from the public sector perspective, when we have budgets, we need to ensure that there is funding behind them, and we need to ensure that there are releases so that we can execute 100% if possible, particularly for capital expenditure. So what do I see? What I've seen just looking at Nigeria's budget over the past 5 years in particular is that we've had too many years when our budgets seemed too ambitious compared to our revenue. We were not focusing on the revenue side. We were expressional, which is good. But at the end of the day, I can say to you that today, federal government and states combined, we have nearly half of our budget which is deficit financed. So what we need to then pay more attention to is realistic revenue to drive your budget, and whatever gaps you have to do cash management planning. You've allocated an amount because an area is considered to be important. If there's no money to support it, it's as good as not having been allocated. In my role, if I'm confirmed by the distinguished Senate, we need to first try and create a picture of where we are, like a status quo analysis. In many countries, you even have quantification of what we call domestic arrears. If you are owing contractors, we should know it. We should say, as of today, this is how much we are owing contractors. This is how much we have. This is what the gap is, and this is how we'll raise that money. So I think that analysis will be very, very important. And then the other thing is, beyond the revenue number and the budget and how you finance the deficits, it's also important that we don't lose sight of those capital projects in particular. I hold the view that if you're trying to build a road that you could have done in 1 year, but you did it in 10 years, that's 9 extra years wasted, for which Nigeria did not get maximum value for that investment. And we even end up with variations and all of that. So I believe this is something that is within our control, and we should be able to do it. The third and the last question is from the distinguished Senator Yahaya Abdullahi, I hope I got that right, who was making the point about Mr. President of the country having done a lot to stabilize our economy, particularly from the monetary side. And then his point is, what are we going to do differently in my role on the fiscal side beyond tax? So essentially, the way we see this, the way I see this is that we have to be intentional about trying to drive disinflationary growth. How does that work? From the fiscal side, we've seen increase in revenue of the government as a result of the reforms around subsidy removal as well as naira flotation. Now, if you get more revenue because you take out subsidy, it's actually a transfer from the people to the government. So that sacrifices that the people make, the only way we can make it worthwhile is to spend that money in the areas of priority to them. And they could be as basic as road from the farm to the warehouse, factory, and the market. And you see the impact on the people almost immediately. Health center, schools. So the spending is one area we want to prioritize, both at the federal government level, but also working with the sub-national. We've actually started this conversation. I was invited to the National Economic Council retreat about 2 weeks ago, and these were some of the conversations we've had. So we believe that government can improve how we spend wisely, productively, and to help address issues around inflation. I have two very important examples I want to give. So this is not academic. If you think about it, the more room we can create to generate revenue and find the cash to fund our activities, the better for us. If you look at Nigeria's Euro bond, we have somewhere around $18.5 billion Euro bond. In the next 5 years, we have about $7 billion maturing. So which means in 5 years, we need to find $7 billion. But here is the good news. The rate, the yield on those $7 billion worth is now about 20% less than when we issued them. In other words, just imagine that we issue $7 billion to refinance the one that is falling due. We save ourselves from looking for $7 billion in the next 5 years. The amount we use to service the debt on a yearly basis falls by hundreds of millions of dollars. So you win in 2 dimensions. And imagine channeling all of that into productive capital expenditure. The impact will be significant. The other thing that a lot of Nigerians are talking about today is that we produce oil. Why are we bothered or being affected negatively by what is going on in Iran? Israel, Iran, and the US, they're quite far from us. But we are feeling the impact at the pump almost every other hour. In fact, one driver was saying that the amount he bought in the morning was different from afternoon. And I think that Nigeria has an opportunity here. What do I see? When we do our budget, for this 2026, we're about 64.8 is the benchmark for crude oil per barrel. And there's a risk. The risk is that if it falls below that, we're going to panic. If it goes above that, our people will suffer for it because they'll pay more. We can come up with a strategy. And this is done in several countries of selling our crude forward. So Nigeria can say how much barrels do we need equivalent to service Nigeria. Imagine that we sell that forward at $65 for the next 6 months. We do 2 things. We guarantee that we can finance our budget. Number 2, the Nigerian people have the stability that the price will not be going up and down the way it has done in the past few days. These are some of the ideas that I believe we can explore further with different stakeholders and see how this works for us. Thank you very much, Your Excellency.
Honourable Minister, to be honest with you, don't go into